Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Central Recruitment Center Info Log Episode 2 live stream. I am the informant, and we are here with the Commander, Mark, and General Oso. Thank you guys for coming again to this live stream.
A pleasure. Thank you for having this great program to have continually communication with all the community and you as a great member of it.
Yeah, how are you? And I'm very happy to be here and to see what topics we're gonna discuss today.
Great. All right. So I thought that going off of the developer diary of the caster gear and the Epons, it was great. And we have one other member joining us, the other host from last week. Lowe's, welcome back to the info log.
Thank you very much. Nice to be back.
Great to see you. All right, so going off of the diary and all the caster gear and Epons, we had some great footage of some recruits trying out the gear and actually getting to test it out and having some really good reactions to it. So that was great to see. And I was just kind of wondering, what were some of the early problems developing the Epon? Because I mean, that's some very high power technology. What were some early problems that you had?
Also,
yes, well, as with any new technology, most of the problems came out of ignorance, because at the beginning we didn't really know what we were doing, or we didn't have the knowledge to develop all these electronics to be able to work with white particles and all of this kind of stuff. So I think that's one of the main challenges. And another challenge was also the pandemics also made us or slow down the process, since we weren't able to test on a larger scale. So I think those two things were one of the two biggest problems when developing the earliest versions of the Epon. So it's mainly the testing and getting the right components to work, or
and the
finding
optics, right? I mean, the optics was a huge thing.
Yeah, choosing the right components to work, or the right configuration of components, since we had a lot of ideas and a lot of always when you begin, you have like a pre-made idea of how it's going to work, and it never ends up being that way. So that's, I think, finding the right pattern, or testing the different configurations. As Mark says, the optics was one of the problems, since superpowers need to be, well, we thought at the beginning that our emitter needed to focus more, so we had longer range, and at the end it didn't need it to be that way. So the early prototype, that's why it was so wide here at the front, because it needed a lens. But we were testing with a lot of different lenses, Epon length sizes, stuff like that. And at the end, we ended up coming out with a very more lean design, thanks to that testing process.
I think we need to make clear that this is not a final design, and actually, I believe it will never be, because people categorize the Bone as a gaming company, but we believe we're a technology company dedicated to make one great game. Therefore, we are really tech strong, and new components are arriving all the time, new technologies, new hardware, new software, new everything. So this is a never-ending process where we always want to improve, make it cheaper, make it better, make it more accessible for everyone.
Yes.
Very nice. Thank you for that. Lowe's, you want to take the next question?
Yeah, on that same note, we were just kind of wondering about what are you specifically possibly working on improving or changing from the current model of Epon?
Sure, I can talk about it. So just so you see how big of a scope, we began with something that looked like this. So this is one of the earliest prototypes. It's just a plastic fixture or bracket holding some electronics. And then we went something like this. Well, after 3 or 4 prototypes, and finally, right now we have this. So what's coming next? We want to work more on the ergonomics. The bottoms here are, well, they don't really look that well, so we're working on that. We're working on the trigger to make it more comfortable. We are also working on the weight balance, since it's not perfect right now, the weight balance. We're adding a strap to the here, so you can, well, you can feel more confident doing harder movements without, risking your epon falling. So that's another thing. And we're working on the energy system. How are we powering the entire epon? And I think the last, and maybe is the most important one and more challenging one, this is still a prototype. Some of its components are still 3D printed or something like that. And we are working on the actual production design. So how are we going to be able to make thousands of these epons? That's one big step, because some things are efficient to do while you are prototyping, but they are not efficient to do when you mass produce a piece of hardware. So those are the main.
Let me add two more things. Probably the length of the icon is going to change. It's going to be smaller, because there's something that we had to we have this decision to make. Then, due to this length, shipping costs will go higher, meaning it will be expensive. It will be more expensive to everyone, and we don't want to do that. We need to find that perfect spot, because, as you know, our job is to make it as affordable as possible, to make it bigger and more accessible to everyone. And the other thing is that you will probably, after we launch on Kickstarter, everyone that gets a perk have one thing, and I want to point it, that it's called founder rights. And the founder rights is not just one thing that we say. I mean, we put your name in the credits and it's like you were here first, but it's much more than that. Sometimes we have these decisions to make, maybe art or only which one you like better, and are two complete, well, not complete, but there are two different designs. And before we go into production, we can say, hey, founders, we have this to vote. Which one do you prefer? Because at the end, the vote is about this community, and the final epon design, probably it's going to be voted by everyone within the community.
Awesome.
That's it.
Yeah,
Cool.
so mainly that. Yeah.
All right, very good. Now, one thing that I think is very intriguing, and I think a lot of people have been very excited about, are the different types of epons that have been mentioned. I mean, it started off with your earliest teasers had the wand and the e-glove. And then we've heard rumors of the bow and maybe even a staff or a blaster. And I know that each one of those is supposed to specialize in a certain thing or give a certain type of playing style, kind of a specialty. But one of the things that I saw people were concerned about in the chat of the developer diary was, how will these different types balance against each other? How will you make sure that that buying one epon will make you automatically stronger than a different one?
Well, balancing is always a challenge. But the good thing about balancing is that it's software, as long as the main mechanics are fine. So when you have software, you can balance like each second, make an update. So we are confident that naturally you need to work on a daily basis on that, but we will figure it out about the balance. When you're talking about mechanics, things change. And the balance stuff, you must see it as an MMO, for example, where you imagine it this way. You know for sure that when you play as a range character, you probably have more damage, but you are like more propense to be killed by someone. If you're a mage, you do this like huge crowd control things, and it's just kind of how it works. But if you think about it, they are only talking about melee, range, and how it works. So each epon will have its own mechanics, and I'm not going to talk about the glove. I'm going to talk about 3 complete different ones for you to like get what we're thinking. Today we have this, let's call it E1 for these purposes. That it's kind of the mechanics is you have to make left, right, top, make a circle, whatever, you will cast a power. So it means it's a range weapon, but we also know it's about 8 meters. I don't know how much that is in feet. Sorry, metric
between
barrier.
24 and 30 feet in range.
That. Okay, 24, 30 feet range. Cool. And actually, this one, it's kind of a balanced weapon. You can put shields, you can do damage, you can have a lot of stuff. Now, let's go to the opposite in one side. Let's talk about a blaster. Okay, so if we have a blaster, the idea is to have like 3 times that range because you're playing that game. But naturally, well, you will not have necessarily the same power archives, and you will not have the mechanic of making left, right, because that makes no sense with a blaster. Probably the blaster will be something like damage per second when you're a player that you go really back and you try to snipe, but you now let's assume that the basic attack deals 1 of damage. Well, probably the blaster will deal 0.1 of basic damage because, well, you have 15 meters, you don't have to cast, you're only shooting. So it's completely different. You will do a lot of damage per second. But it's like, well, can I put shields to an ally? Well, no, because it will make no sense. So depending on that one, it will be the mechanics, and we can discover and create new power archives as specific. Now, I'm going to go like the other way to play with the mechanics, because you can say, well, if you cannot cast it, not so fun, but you have range, it's a decision to be made by each recruit. Let's assume we do have the technology to make a melee weapon. Okay, imagine a lightsaber, just kind of lightsaber. Imagine that's possible. Okay, I'm not gonna deep dive into that, but let's just imagine that it's possible. So how are gonna work the mechanics? Because you are not going to cast. But let's come back to the basic attack. If the E1, it's 1 of damage, the E-blast is 0.1, probably the, let's say, saber, the lightsaber, I don't know how to call it, it will be 2, the basic damage, because you need to go in front of someone. What will be the range? Probably 1 meter or something like that. It's like really close because you're simulating kind of a sword. Now, it's like, yeah, but can you have then power archives? Because the bone is about having superpowers. Yeah, you can have mechanics. For example, let's assume we're talking about red destruction, a very popular power archive right now. Well, the E1 tells you you need to make 4 movements to cast it. Probably something like the lightsaber will say, okay, you need to hit a combo of 4 specific movements, like you need to go this way, then left, then up, and then right. And if you hit the 4 of them in some period of time, then you will deal the damage that red destruction made. So the mechanic, if you think about it, yeah, you're casting actually, you're making a movement, but you have variables of range, and things will be different. But each time we develop something, each time we do make a new Epon, if we end up doing that, naturally it will have completely different physical mechanics, and then the software mechanics will be the way that we end up balancing all that. But yeah, it can be done.
Gotcha. Very nice. Thank you. Yeah, that covers a few things that I heard the chat was asking about. Because there were people asking about like the motion sensing with the blaster and whether or not how that would work. So thank you for covering that. And I think we have time for maybe one more before we go to the chat, because we want to try to get some chat in here if it's active, which I can't see at the moment. But
yeah, it is. I'm
great.
watching it.
Wonderful. So I just had a question about the actual technical. How does the Epon work in reference to like just the headset and just kind of the AR aspect of the game. Because if you point at something, like for laser tag, say, it's an immediate, it shoots the laser, and if it hits something, it hits something, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But for this, it's not only a point at something, but it like position locks, and it even gives the other person time to move out of the way. So how exactly does all of that work in a more like practical, technical aspect?
Sure.
Yeah, well, it works thanks to all these sensors that our tech has. So you have a motion sensor here in the Epon, and you also have motion sensors in your cell phone. It has these motion sensors, and we're also planning on adding some motion sensors to the headset. So that way we know exactly where is the Epon pointing. So if we shoot in this direction, or let me this direction, I mean look it to the other way, I know the direction I'm looking at all times, and also the direction that the Epon is pointing at. So when I do the casting motion, I know, like we know in which direction we need to show the power archive in the AR interface. So that's mainly how it works. And then on the other part, all this is sent to the server that connects all the different, well, smartphones, Epons, etc., all the data. So that's how we can make like this a video game experience in real life, because we are making the world the stage for the players by using all these different sensors, so they can, the tech knows what's happening at all times, and it's able to show that in the AR interface. So that's how it all works. So we use perception tricks with the headset, with the AR interface, combined with a lot of motion sensors and that kind of stuff. So that's how it works.
Let me add something there also. If you want to simplify it, think it like that's how actually kind of, well, it's not kind of, that it's actually our proprietary technology, patent, and all that stuff that we developed. But imagine it as a kind of a laser tag, but with, like with a lot of new 21st century technology, where you have a lot of sensors, cameras. The cameras can understand how deep stuff are and stuff like that. And we need to remember that right now, the headset that we have is the cheapest option we can deliver to everyone, because it's powered by our phone. But in the near future, 2024, 2025, somewhere there, the big companies right now are developing AR headsets. You have Microsoft with HoloLens, you have Magic Leap powered by Google and Alibaba, you have Google, you have Apple, you have Facebook, and you have, you have tons of big companies developing AR stuff. So it's projected that in 2025, an AR headset will be a mainstream thing. Right now, you have a phone and that's it. In the future, you will have a headset. The idea for us is that we need to provide the cheapest and more accessible option for you to play today. But later on, let's talk about 2025. When we have new big companies developing headsets, probably the phone will stop developing our own headset and just be another app for that kind of headset. And that evolution would allow us, every one of us, like we start playing with these, but in 3 or 4 years, some of us will have headsets, some of us won't, but we will still be able to play. Like when you play, I don't know, RuneScape, you can play in a $5,000 computer, or you can play it on your phone. You can still play it. Or Call of Duty. I mean, any game. You have a lot of sort of great gaming PCs with a lot of power, and some others that are not so good. But the idea is that we need to provide the option that is the cheapest one, because a lot of people will start buying headsets, and in that moment, technology will get better. The experience will be more immersive, even that it's like today.
Very, very good plan. Very good. Thank you for all of that information on the practical effects of the bone. All right. Lowe's, what are we seeing in the chat here? What are some questions that we've got?
I've noticed a couple of people asking about the material that it's made out of, that sort of stuff, and whether or not they'd be able to customize that sort of thing, and if it's environmentally friendly.
Yeah, sure. Well, the materials, it's gonna be made out of, well, sturdy and durable materials, just like like any controller, some type of plastic. And I think the environmental parts come by making them as durable as possible. And if something doesn't break, then you don't need to be replacing it constantly. And about the customization, I mean, you can customize it, as the question is, if you are crafty enough, in the same way you can customize maybe your laptop or an Xbox controller. You can add stickers, you can paint it, you can 3D print some, I don't know, some fixture to add some personality to it. Yeah, you could be able to personalize it in a lot of ways.
Let the other stuff we're thinking. We need to see it kind of. I'm gonna add two things of what you said. The first thing is, think it as a phone, right? So when you have your phone, you normally just get this thing that it meant to be, damn, completely durable and stuff like that, and you get this, and we are responsible of making something that it's durable. One of the reasons that we don't want to put lithium batteries inside, like rechargeable batteries, is that we know that those batteries kind of die, like, in time. Like your phone, when it's new, it's all the day, you can have it. 2 years later, one call and it's dead. So if we do that with the Epons, then the Epon will be dead. If we decided to put rechargeable batteries, thinking about the Epon should last, then the only thing you need is to have rechargeable batteries. It's like, I don't know, 50 or 60 hours of play, one charge. So it's a lot of time. But the personalization things, I know it's something amazing, but we need to understand that the Bone right now, it's kind of a small company, and when we personalize stuff, everything is more expensive. And if we decide to have two colors of the Epon, then we need to charge $15 for each new Epon, just because we need to make these manufacturer deals where we have two colors. If we decide to put, you can decide this handle or this one, increase price. Everything will increase price. So we're thinking that the early personalization will be something like the phone, because this is easier to make. So you can buy something like this later on. We're not going to make it right now, but it's something that it's possible. And then just add it to your Epon, like in this way.
Some of this stuff might not even come from us. Some of this stuff may come from satellite companies or other companies that see business opportunity on developing cases or stuff like that. Just like phone cases are not always made by the phone manufacturer. So that door will remain open. Yep.
Cool. Thank you. Another question that I've seen a long time ago, and Dummy just put it back in the chat, is, do you have to remove the caster gear to collect resources, or is there a way to, like, if you wanted to keep your headset on and go out and collect particles and still be immersed in the world? Is that a possibility, or is the or do you have to take the phone out of the headset to collect the particles?
Right now, it works as two separate experiences. So the exploration and resources, all of that works using only your phone, because we also want to have a standalone mobile-only experience. And in the future, that might be nearer than, or closer than later on, we might have some Epon experience where you are also able to use your Epon while collecting resources or while doing exploration and all of this. Right now, like as of today, they are two separate experiences, but I don't see an issue in the future combining them or being able to explore, because it wouldn't be that hard to do. So
Also, the idea is that exploration is meant to be like everywhere. It's okay if you are in an airport, waiting the bus. The idea of exploring the world is meant to be a really mobile-only experience. Even the layout, you play with this way instead of this way, like when you do in mobile combat, and all the experiences that way. Now, when you put a headset, the idea is to fight, because it's meant to be that way. And one thing that we talked about the last chapter, but I think we need to get deep in here, are about the mods. What we mean with mods, well, that it's a really big door, because right now you can imagine the traditional mods. Let's do a battle royale. Let's do 3 versus 3, capture the flag. But what happens when we open the door to developers, for example, and we say, okay, so do whatever you want. This is like the developer's kit, let's say it that way. Invent whatever you want. You can actually make an RPG by turns, where it's like, yeah, let's set a grid, and it's going to be my turn, and then it's going to be your turn, and then, or we can set up a giant boss right there, and the 5 of us need to kill him in less than 15 minutes, and it's going to move, and stuff like that. So instead of using the phone, the headset to explore, I believe the door should remain closed and open the other one, that it's much more exciting about the mods and about the things that the community can make. Did that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Cool.
Another one that I saw was compatibility with this and other brands of headsets, which I didn't even think of, but
sure. So right now we are. We have it here. Today we're not working with anyone, and let me explain you why. Oculus, just to answer the specific question, is VR only. So you'll be immersive in another world. We're not fine with VR, but right now it's a door that it's closed. Let's say it that way, as today. Other headsets you can get right now, Magic Leap, HoloLens, and that's pretty much everything that it's out there. HoloLens is $3,000. So $3,000, it's a lot of money, and there are very few people that with very specific industry things that are buying them. So it makes no sense that we invest resources to develop HoloLens 1 when we know that probably the affordable HoloLens is going to be version 3 in 4 years. Right now, it's easier just to focus on what we know everyone has, that it's a phone, keep developing there, wait until the big companies have their own technology affordable headsets, and then start developing there. Yeah, makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think that is about as much time as we have for today. We got through most of the questions in the chat. Thank you for those questions, guys. Keep saving them up for other episodes. Yes. Based on the dev diaries is probably how we will keep doing this. But thank you, Commander Mark and General Oso. Thank you very much for joining us once again.
My pleasure. Can I make a quick announcement?
Absolutely.
Just for everyone. It's going to be in Spanish because people are mad. I can read the comments and they're mad. So to get them on mad. Hey, hicimos este tipo de programa porque la comunidad en inglés decidió hacerlo. Esto la iniciativa no viene de nosotros, sino vino de la comunidad en inglés. Sé que hay muchas personas que es como, oigan, esto está en inglés y no entiendo nada. Recordemos que Devon tiene a las dos comunidades, las dos son muy activas y están ahí. Entonces, lo que podemos hacer es hacer este tipo de entrevistas y de mecánicas con la comunidad español. Nosotros encantados de hacerlo, pero al final del día, pues tenemos que hacerlo, está en vivo, pues no podemos traducir y hablar los dos idiomas al mismo tiempo, pero con mucho gusto vamos a hacer las versiones en español y en inglés y que la comunidad en español haga todas las preguntas y tengamos cualquier tipo de conversación de este estilo que querramos. Fuera de eso, los esperamos su iniciativa y we will keep in English. Thank you for that. Sorry about that, but you know,
no, absolutely.
People like hating us because it's in English, and it's like, yeah, well, because it was meant to be this way.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you, Arissa, for modding the chat. Thank you, Lowe's, for joining us once again to help host this event.
Here to help.
And we will see everyone the next time we do this. And who knows when that will be, but hopefully soon.
Thank you for the interview, guys. Have a great Wednesday.
You as well.